This is for a P0410 check engine code. First thing you want to do is the simplest things first. Double check the fuse, make sure that is okay. It's the fuse panel inside the engine compartment. And we'll look at that, and that's okay. You can also test it with a continuity tester. So now we're going to check the solenoid air valve, and we undid the air intake, and we pulled the gray tab back and disconnected it. Now we're going to put some battery voltage on there to see if it makes a clicking noise. What we're doing now is we have the jumper wire to the terminals of the solenoid, and we're going to hook that up to the battery to hear if there's an audible click indicating that it's working. And it is not, so we know that this is the problem, that the smog pump was running and the air was not being injected in, and that's what caused the motor to fail on the smog pump. So the secondary smog pump here, the air pump, is held on by 3 bolts onto the frame, and we'll take and remove that. There's an electrical connection and 2 air hoses. Now with the bolts removed, you can take and remove the bracket and the pump all in one, and disconnect the electrical connection. So now we're going to switch the bracket out to the new smog pump. The electrical connection here clips on there, and we're just going to unbolt it and go ahead and reinstall the unit. Although our new unit came with these rubber isolators, you can just peel them off the old motor, and the old motor will slide out. You'll have to remove the old hose clamps. You just pinch in on them, and they slide off, and reattach it to the new one. Now we're going to reinstall it. We're going to put the electrical connection back on and slide it back up in there, and put the 3 bolts on the mounting bracket. We're ready to go. Put the hoses back on. Now that the bolts are secure, we'll go ahead and put the hoses back on. Remove the solenoid. It's two 13 millimeters, and you'll need a deep well socket for it, and disconnect the electrical connection. Before you do this work, it's recommended that you disconnect the battery. I misspoke on the other side. It is a 10 millimeter that also holds the bracket for the dipstick tube for the automatic transmission. We have the electrical connection comes off, and there is a air hose that pulls off the unit itself. Many times that gasket that holds the solenoid on there gets dried out from all the heat. Just take a block of wood and hit it with a hammer, and it should knock it loose. We're going to remove the gasket here. It's stuck on there, so we're going to peel that off with a putty knife. Now with the gasket removed, we're going to clean it up with a little brake clean and install the new one. Now that it's bolted on, we're going to install the transmission dipstick tube, and that is a 10 millimeter. We'll reinstall the electrical connection and lock that down, and reinstall our ductwork for our intake, and we're ready to reset the code. Now we'll erase the code, and we're all set